The story of the morgue in an abandoned hospital begins like this. A group of young friends, looking for adrenaline, decide to enter an old, abandoned hospital in the neighborhood. There were many rumors about this place. Strange deaths had happened there in the past. Some patients had mysteriously disappeared. Especially scary stories were told about the morgue. Spirits live there, doors open by themselves, and sometimes you can hear people whispering. The friends enter a dark hospital. Dust, broken furniture, and old medical records are scattered everywhere on the floor. They walk along dark corridors and head towards a morgue. When a morgue door creaks open, everyone's hearts start beating fast. There was a cold and unpleasant smell inside. The iron table and freezers were still there, but they looked like they had not been used for a long time. Suddenly, one of the iron cell doors opens by itself. The friends freeze. Then they hear someone's slow footsteps behind the wall. They look at each other in fear. At that moment, the most terrifying thing they have ever heard happens. Someone whispers and a voice says, "Get out." The panicked group runs to the door, but the door is closed and does not open. At that moment, they see a metal table moving behind them, and they slam the door in panic. At one point, the door opens by itself, and everyone runs out and escapes from the hospital. A few days later, they bring the camera they left inside and watch the video. In the video, they see a shadow of a woman moving inside the morgue after they leave. And suddenly the camera screen goes black. After that, they never return to this place. Whether this incident really happened or is a legend, no one knows for sure. But the morgue is still abandoned, and people still talk about mysterious voices coming from there. In some cultures, there are many stories about spirits that can be disturbed and haunt the living if the body is not buried properly or the funeral rites are not performed properly. Here are some of them. 1. Chinese folk tales. In Chinese culture, it is believed that spirits can be disturbed if the body is not buried properly or the funeral rites are not performed properly. For example, if the body is not buried properly or the funeral rites are not performed properly, it is believed that the spirit can turn into a ghost and haunt the living. Therefore, great attention is paid to funeral rites in China. Japanese onryo legends. In Japan, there are legends about vengeful spirits called onryo. These spirits are usually believed to be the spirits of women who suffered injustice or were buried improperly before their death. They are believed to return to seek revenge on the living. For example, in the famous Japanese folktale Yatsuya Kaiden, the spirit of a woman named Oiwa seeks revenge on her unfaithful husband. The Igbo tribe of Africa. The Igbo tribe of Nigeria believe that if a person is not buried properly, or if the rituals are not completed, their soul can become an ogbanj. These spirits are believed to return to the family and disturb the family through newborn babies. Poltergeist phenomena in the Western world. Stories of improperly buried or disturbed spirits are also common in Western culture. For example, in the film Poltergeist and stories based on it, a family living in a house built on a cemetery is haunted by disturbed spirits. These spirits disturb the living because they cannot find their peace. The legend of La Llorona in Latin America. The legend of La Llorona, the weeping woman, is popular in Latin America, in which the spirit of a woman who has lost her children wanders the banks of rivers, searching for her children and haunting travelers. This legend warns of the disturbance of spirits as a result of improper burials or sins. These stories illustrate the importance of proper burial and full funeral rites in various cultures. In each culture, such rituals are considered important to ensure the peace of the spirits and protect the living from their persecution. This incident happened in Japan in 2017. A girl named Amy lived alone in Tokyo. She was busy with her studies and work, so she often came home late at night. One evening, a stranger followed her as she was taking an elevator. The man was dressed normally, but there was something strange in his eyes. Amy went into her apartment and locked the door, but the strange feeling did not go away. At around 2 a.m., she woke up to a noise. When she looked out onto the balcony, she saw someone watching from there. Amy was frozen in shock and fear, but she took out her phone and called the police. When the police arrived, they found no one on the balcony. However, after checking, it was discovered that there were wet footprints on the balcony. The next day, one of her neighbors reported seeing strange footprints in her laundry. Amy lived in fear for several days. A week later, Amy saw the same man again, this time in a store. The man was watching her from a distance. Amy immediately called the police. An investigation revealed that the man was a criminal who had been suspected of several previous stalking and burglary cases. Amy moved to another place after the incident, but she still feels like someone is watching her at night. People who came back from the grave. Extraordinary real-life stories 1. The miracle in Egypt in 2009, a 28-year-old woman named Fata Muxter from Egypt was declared dead, but miraculously came back to life. Her family and neighbors believed she had died of a heart attack and held a funeral ceremony. However, a few hours after the burial, strange noises began to emerge from the gravesite. In fear and astonishment, her relatives opened the grave and found Fata unconscious but alive. When taken to the hospital, doctors confirmed that she had fallen into a short-term coma following the heart attack. A terrifying incident in Brazil in 2013. A 2-year-old boy named Kelvin Santos from Brazil was pronounced dead due to severe pneumonia. Before the funeral, his family left his body in an open coffin for viewing. During the ceremony, the boy's body suddenly moved, and he looked at his father and said, "Daddy, I'm thirsty." After that brief moment, the boy lost consciousness again and did not wake up. Doctors tried to explain the incident as a final reflex of the body, but the story spread worldwide, leaving many in shock and disbelief. The woman who emerged from a morgue in South Africa. A memorable event took place in South Africa in 2011 when a woman was declared dead after a car accident and was placed in the morgue. 24 hours later, morgue staff heard loud screams and knocking from one of the storage compartments. Terrified, the staff initially fled the room, but soon returned and discovered the woman was still alive. She was immediately taken to the hospital, where she gradually recovered. The woman later admitted she had no recollection of the incident, but acknowledged being given a second chance at life. These stories show that sometimes the most extraordinary and inexplicable events occur in human life. While many of these incidents call for scientific explanations, most people view them as miracles and twists of fate. One night, I woke up at around 3 a.m. I don't know why I woke up. My room was quiet, and it was peaceful outside. My heart was pounding as if something was wrong. I closed my eyes, trying to calm myself down. At that moment, my phone rang. Who could be calling me at this time? I was alone at home. My parents were on a business trip. When I looked at the phone screen, it was an unfamiliar number. I hesitated to answer, but the call kept ringing, and my heart started beating faster and faster. Finally, although I was scared, I answered. "Hello." My voice came out low and shaky. No answer. All I could hear was someone's heavy breathing. My heart was pounding. "Who is it?" I asked again. At that moment, a low, whispering voice was heard. "Look outside." At that moment, my hand froze with fear. I slowly put down my phone and approached the window of my room. My heart rate increased with each beat. I slowly lifted one edge of the curtain and looked outside. The street was empty. All was silence. Only the street lamp was shining dimly. There was no one there. My phone whispered again, "Look behind you now." I froze. I stood there, not knowing what to do. It felt like someone was standing behind me, staring at me. I slowly turned around, not knowing what to do. There was no one there. But this was only the beginning. At that moment, there was a soft knock on the door. Once, twice, 3 times. My breath caught in my throat. My heart felt like it was stuck in my throat. The door to my room was closed, but the shadow behind it was clearly visible in the low light. It looked like a shadow of a person, but it was strangely shaped, like it was bent and had long arms. The door handle slowly started to lower. Someone was trying to get in. I froze. My phone whispered again, "I see you." Then my heart couldn't take it anymore, and I screamed loudly. The door handle slowly slid back into place. I saw the shadow disappear. Everything went silent. The next morning, my parents came back. I told them what had happened. They tried to convince me that it was just a dream. But when I checked my phone, that number was not among the recent calls. But I know I wasn't dreaming, because the door handle was slightly tilted.